Is H-1B to green card process really discriminatory? Let me make this clear. H-1B by itself is not at all discriminatory. Everyone, regardless of the country and the background, gets the same opportunity at H-1B, and it does not differentiate between people. However, it should differentiate. In fact, it should filter candidates based on their qualifications and merit, but it does not. H-1B on its own treats everyone as equal, and that is where it is unfair. Why I say so? See, it is unfair for people who have the highest possible qualifications from great universities in America to be put in the same basket and compete for the same H-1B slot with somebody who has a bachelor's degree from a third-tier college abroad. A key issue here is that people treat H-1B as a ticket to settle down in the US, whereas it was not designed to be so. People often confuse between the goals of H-1B and employment-based green cards. H-1B was designed to bring in temporary workers and specialty occupations for which no local Americans could be found. But pay attention to the word temporary. H-1B by itself does not give you the right to settle in the US, and that is where green card comes in. Green card gives you the right to permanently settle in the US. And because a green card means that you can permanently settle in the US, what the US government does is that it tries to evenly distribute the green cards among all countries so that no people from one country dominate the employment-based green cards. So the basic idea is to maintain diversity. So natural question that arises is that why is diversity not maintained when giving out H-1B visas, right? See, H-1B visa is a temporary work permit. If you are temporary, it does not matter which country you are from because that work permit is temporary. But when it comes to settling down permanently, that is where you need controls and checks. Many people from one or two countries can come here temporarily, no issues there. But far too many people from one country should not settle down and change the demographics of the country. And that is the idea here. And that is why US limits immigration by enforcing a per country cap. And it is important to note that this is the mindset of this country in variety of other areas and not just limited to immigration. When you look at the governance of this country, it is divided into three branches of the government. The legislature, then you have the executive where you have the president and their advisors, and then you have judiciary. And that is how checks and balances are enforced to make sure that nobody gets too powerful. Now let us take a little deeper look at the US legislature. Look at the US Senate. While on the one hand, Congress is represented by people from all the states, where states that have larger populations have larger representation in the Congress, the Senate keeps a check on it by making sure that no more than 2 senators come from each state. The US Senate protects diversity by ensuring equal representation of all the states. And similarly is the case with green cards. When the governance system of the US enforces diversity checks on itself, where it mitigates unequal representation based on population, it is wrong to accuse the government of discrimination and, God forbid, racism. Look at this tweet by one of the Twitter handles that is lobbying for removal of per country cap on employment-based green cards. It says that Indian immigrants endure racism, and my view is that it is really wrong to make such accusations. The government here enforces such rules onto itself. Then why should it not follow the same principles in other areas as well? If the governance system of this country was discriminatory, it would have never given out all these H-1B visas to one or two countries. The problem is coming in because H-1B is dominated largely by people from India followed by China. And as a consequence, H-1B based green card applications are also dominated by people from these two countries, and more so by people from India. But here is where the per country cap kicks in. So the question comes back again is the US government really discriminating? You can accuse the government and blame the laws to be racist or discriminatory only and only if they say that we will give green cards to people from this country but will not give out green cards to people from the other country. They're not doing that. All they are saying is that we will give the same number of green cards to people from all countries. Therefore, also such a statement falls flat. Let us evaluate arguments from both the sides. The first side says that it is not discriminatory and that everything is fair, employment-based green card per country cap is correct, And I will also give the arguments from the other side that says that this is discriminatory and it is unfair to them. So let us look at 5 big arguments by the side that says that it is absolutely fair and there is no discrimination going on and this is how it should be. Let me make this clear that these are the arguments from both the sides and these are not my personal arguments. These are the arguments that were presented to me. So the first argument by that side that says that green card based employment is non-discriminatory and it is fair. They say that, see, this is not your country. You have come here to work on a temporary basis. At an individual level, you may think that it is unfair, but just because you have been living in this country for many years, it gives you an illusion that this is your country. But you always knew that you came here on a temporary visa. Whether it was a student visa or H-1B work visa, both are temporary. In fact, when you went to the consulate to seek the visa, you had to prove to the immigration officer that you are not trying to immigrate and you are only applying for a temporary work permit or a temporary student visa. When you had actually mentioned that to an immigration officer, why has your stance changed? And later, if you change your stance and then decide to immigrate, you call the system unfair because it is enforcing certain rules on all the countries. The second argument is that it is human tendency where people connect with those who are closer to them based on their common beliefs and common cultures. If everyone gets a green card from the same region, they are likely to discriminate against others by having a preference for people with similar backgrounds. Because of their comfort level for people from their own nationality and culture, they may not prefer to hire people from other nationalities. And it can get really worse if people prefer to hire somebody from the same background as themselves and not prefer Americans first, because that is the law. You have to prove that you made every effort to hire an American, a local American, before you had to go find people from outside. Only when you fail to hire an American first can you look for foreign nationals to fill that job. The third argument that this side gives is that this is their country, their rules. Who are you to say what rules other countries should make? You, who was born and raised in some other country, in some other culture, has only come here on a temporary visa. What right do you have to say what kind of laws should be made? If you have a home, you get to choose who comes inside your home and who gets to stay longer, right? To explain this with an example, let's say you are throwing a party in your locality, okay? And there are 100 households and you invited people from every single household, but there are many people in some of the households. What you did is that you enforced a limit on 3 people per house, okay? So no more than 3 people from one home can come to your party. Now, most of the homes have 2 to 3 people and everybody is fine. But there are 2 or 3 homes that have 300, 400 people. Now, when these houses start complaining that you are discriminating against us, the point is that you are not. You are giving equal opportunity to everybody. If 2 or 3 households have far too many people, how is the host responsible for it? They wanted to include everybody and therefore they gave equal opportunity to everybody. Now the fourth argument is where people argue that we have been living here for a long time and have been paying taxes. Well, you have been paying taxes. You have not been paying charity. You have all the rights to complain if you are making money in some other country and paying taxes here. But that is not the case. You are actually earning money here, and because you are earning money here, you are paying taxes. It is not optional. Only if you are earning money in some other country and paying taxes to America, then you have the right to complain, to say that, see, we have given you so much money, why are you not giving us green cards? That is not the case, right? And the fifth and the last argument that was given to me by people is that, see, if the per country limit is removed, even those people from other countries who have to wait for, let's say, 1 to 2 years to get their green cards will now have to wait for 10, 15 years, and that is unfair to them. And they don't want that. It is not fair to them that a lot of people from 1 or 2 countries are applying for so many green cards. Their own immigration should be delayed by that much. After having presented the arguments by the side that says that employment-based green cards are fair and not discriminatory, now let us look at the argument from the other side that says that employment-based green cards are unfair and are discriminatory. Let us look at their logic. Argument number 1. Let's say you're someone from India and you have been living in the US for many years. Let's say 10, 15 years. You studied here, you built a life here, you contributed to this country, you contributed extensively to the company where you're working, and then you became a senior manager at your company. right? And your green card processing is stuck because of your passport and your country of birth. Now, some new intern comes in who is from some other country where there is no backlog, has barely have any experience, and that person gets the green card like that so quickly. How would you feel? You have contributed far more to the company where you have been working for so many years, you have worked hard, you have given your sweat and blood, and still you are not acceptable in this country. Is that fair? Why should you not get the green card and the other person gets the green card before you? The second argument is very similar to this, is that you feel let down by the system and the country because you came here to study. You did not do anything wrong. You worked for many years and still you are not given equal chance because of the country of birth on your passport. Somebody else who has not done nearly enough, has not contributed at all, has just come, easily gets their green card. The third argument of the side that says that this system is unfair is that by the time they get their green cards, it could be so late that their children are left out and they age out of the green card process. Now it brings a lot of stress on the families. They all came to this country legally, have followed all the laws, have paid taxes, have done good work in this country, and still their children are not beneficiaries of all their hard work. The fourth reason why it feels unfair is if you have been in this country for so many years, if you have contributed extensively to the company where you're working, okay, and because you're stuck in the green card backlog, you're still on H-1B visa and the rules on H-1B visa are quite strict. If you lose your job for whatever reasons, you have very limited time to pack your bags and leave. You could have easily found another job if you had your green card by now. But then you will be forced to make a painful transition of leaving the entire life that you have built and move back to some other country. So if you are born in some small country, you could have easily settled and made your life here and could have easily changed jobs because you got your green card. Whereas if you are from India, you will have to go through a very painful transition. And the fifth and the last argument that this side gives is that how is it fair that people who have come to this country as students, paid fee, and then found jobs by immense hard work, they don't get to settle here, and somebody who came on a diversity visa from some other country and has not even stepped their foot on this country gets a green card directly. A person who has not contributed at all to this country just gets the diversity visa green card and gets to come here. Whereas the other side, people from India and China, let's say, have spent years studying here, have developed expertise, have contributed to ideas in building this country. They have taken a lengthy and expensive journey to be here. They have spent years of hard work to be where they are today. And in spite of all these years of effort, they still do not get to call this place their home. And that ends the argument from this side. Now that I have presented arguments from both the sides, where does the problem even lie? Why have the lawmakers not taken concrete steps to address this issue? See, a lawmaker, a senator or a congressman is liable for the people who voted for them. You are not their constituents. You are not a voter. And because you are not a citizen, why should they address your problems first? They have a lot of other problems of their own constituents to address first. And guess what? Even their own constituents' problems are not addressed in a timely manner in many cases. Even on critical issues on which their constituents have their stakes involved, these lawmakers are slow and disagree to come up with bipartisan laws. Therefore, they have no incentive to work in favor of those people who are not even voters. So now let me give you my personal view. My view is that the real deal is not to do with immigration, but it is to do with employment. Would you be rather employed and earning money in a developing country versus being unemployed and be struggling in a developed country? Any person would rather have a stable job and a good career in their own country which is developing rather than living a poor life in a rich country. So it is better to focus on your career and your skill sets rather than focusing on immigration issues because they are not under your control. So the focus should be developing skills such that you can go to any country and find a good job and not be dependent on immigration policies of some other country. Thank you for watching. Jai Hind and God bless America.